It's 1,000,000 degrees outside. But that doesn't stop our native plants from blooming and hosting butterfly caterpillars. Let's find out what's blooming in the garden and maybe give out some awards for these hard-working flowers and sedges. Also, sorry about my voice. I'm a gardener with terrible allergies. It is what it is, so let's get it. Front yard heat wave, June 2025. So the first thing you notice when you walk outside my door is the sedges on the right, no mulch, just green goodness, Pennsylvania sedge in this little part shade area. And then you'll immediately see what everybody kind of wants to know about, which is this creeping thyme ground cover. Now this is a non-native ground cover. I put it between flagstones. Normally I like to stick to natives, but there's kind of a limited amount of them that really work well between flagstones. So some people used yarrow. A lot of people recently have used pussy toes.
Hello, boys.
Yeah, that's what it's called. So, you can use yarrow. Creeping thyme was just easy for me to access, and it gives me these nice little flowers, and it basically fills the entire thing in. This is how it looked before, and here's how it looks now. Like I said, you can't see the flagstone at all. I'm not cutting around it so that you can see a little pattern or anything. I just let it grow and it covers everything. Some people have seen this photo on the internet of creeping thyme used as a lawn replacement, and it seems like it would be really cool. This could definitely work for a small area, but I feel like it's a little bit unpredictable. I wouldn't really use this as a lawn. It still needs to be weeded. It does suppress some weeds, but obviously some are going to sneak through the cracks and they just need to be removed manually. That's not something that I would want to do in something as large as a lawn. If you want to keep seeing how these plants look in the garden, subscribe to the channel so you can stay on this side of native garden tube. Because you're going to want to see this. Look at this bee balm. I have to admit to everyone, this is a cultivar, but it is so hardy and so robust and weirdly tolerant of shade. I've been trying to cultivate it from cuttings from my mom's house for years. It grows there between hostas and garden phlox, so like between shade and part shade. She has this gorgeous patch of bee balm and we don't know the origin of it. I'm not sure where she got it or if maybe even the previous owners had gotten it. I'm really not sure, but I've tried to buy different bee balms that are kind of the same height and the same color, and they are just not exactly the same cultivar. It must be off patent and nobody's selling it anymore. I bought this short bee balm at a local garden center and it's really close, but it's not exactly the same. This one is just a little bit taller. If anybody knows what cultivar this is, I would love to buy more. But right now I'm just trying to propagate from cuttings and like trying to steal a little bit from my mom's garden every year. Hopefully she doesn't mind. You can see the Pennsylvania sedge is too close to this bee balm patch because if I want to grow the bee balm, the Penn sedge is really going to compete with it. So I'm going to have to make space and pull out some of this Penn sedge so it's not competing. I also pulled out and replanted a Carex rosea that was overcrowding it. Hopefully it'll kind of spread into this area. I'll give it a little bit of fertilizer when it stops being 100 degrees. Now you're not going to believe me, so I'll show you this text screenshot that my neighbor sent me asking about this plant. She says, "What are the yellow flowers in your front yard?" This is Threadleaf Coropsis. Now, I used to have lanceleaf Coropsis in the front here, and it was just too rowdy for me. It spreads a lot by seed and crowds out other plants, which for me wasn't okay because I have limited space up here and I want a variety of plants during the season instead of it being all Coreopsis all the time. I have to say, though, that I think that lanceleaf Coreopsis has just a little bit more wildlife value than this Threadleaf Coreopsis that I have because it has a few more seeds. I do see a lot more goldfinches on the lanceleaf Coreopsis. Even so, it just wasn't the right plant for me to have in my front yard. I love Coreopsis because it blooms early in the season. It blooms for a long time. And the flowers are that stunning gold color that you can see from outer space. This Threadleaf Coreopsis really has those beautiful blooms and it's dense, so it blocks out a ton of weeds. I rarely have to weed in this area. The foliage just forms like a thick drift, which is exactly what I want here. The voles have eaten a huge patch of Liatris here, but I noticed that they didn't touch the Coreopsis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that Liatris, get about 5 to 7 more Coreopsis and replace them. So I have a silly question. Which do you think would win in a fight? Living mulch or wood chip mulch? I have sedges here, which is basically a living mulch. They cover the ground, prevent weeds, they look great, and in a fight, this living mulch would probably grow right into this wood chip mulch and take it right over. For a walking path, though, I like to have wood chip mulch, but there's a catch. If you have empty mulch, you're going to have to weed that area pretty regularly. Otherwise, it looks like this. So here's the area that I weeded, and then here's the area that I didn't. See, I even left pumpkins out last fall, and now I have pumpkins growing all over this wood chip mulch. So I pulled out quite a few of them, but I still have some. So basically, if you don't weed your wood chip mulch, it might turn into a pumpkin patch, which could be all right, I guess. I guarantee that there's critters that live under the canopy of this living mulch. And if you think about how many lightning bugs are probably thriving under here compared to the wood chip mulch, they're going to want the lush protection of the sedges. Like if we take out the thermometer, for example. Oh man, that was a hot door. I literally almost burned myself on the door handle. It's 9 a.m., so it's not even the hottest part of the day. Let's see what the ground temperature is. Here's the surface of the sedges, or the living mulch, if you will. It's a nice 85 degrees between like 83 and 87, basically on top of the sedges. And about 80 degrees underneath the sedges. Now, if you don't think 5 degrees makes a difference, I dare you to turn your AC from 73 to 78 and see if anybody in the house notices. Here in the wood chips, it's 105 degrees. And maybe it doesn't seem fair because this is like in the direct sun, but let's look at some sedges that are in the direct sun right here. These are smaller sedges that I planted last fall, so they're still kind of small plugs. But, oh, look at that, 5 degrees cooler on the ground next to it at 95 degrees in the direct sun. And an additional 5 degrees cooler at 90 degrees in the center of the plant. And these are just tiny plugs. That's a 10 to 15 degree difference from the wood chip path. Think about this on a bigger scale. When you're landscaping, placing trees and shrubs around your house, especially on that south side or the west side. I got an email notification today that my electric bill was going to be 30% more than this time last year. If I had more mature trees on my land, I think I already would have saved some money this month, and it's only June. It's something to think about. These sedges and ground covers are an important part of our ecosystem. It makes your garden a safe place for fireflies and little froggos. I like a clean walking path for sure, but plants are life and they're always going to win in my heart. Another battle is going on the other side of this, Pennsylvania sedge versus wild ginger. These two are both really strong native plants, but wild ginger with its broad leaves and dense growth, it looks like it's winning against the Pennsylvania sedge. You got to put equally aggressive plants next to each other if you really want to know their true nature. Sadly, the redbud tree that's next to this wild ginger is on its way out. Yup, it's dying. Every year we end up losing about a quarter to a third of the branches on this tree, so it is on its way out. We're lucky that we still have a decent canopy on the tree, but that's also why we want to have what I call tree insurance. That's just like a Lisa-ism that I used to describe planting a small tree next to a large tree that is kind of on its way out. That way you're already ahead of the game, especially if you really need that shade and you don't want to cut down the mature tree before you really have to. So we're going to leave it a little while longer, but in the meantime, our replacement tree is getting established. It's getting its roots in the ground, and when the big tree is finally cut down, the replacement will grow really fast with the extra sunlight. But this tree isn't the only plant that almost died last year. I'm going to go ahead and give an award to my Baptisia Arralis for surviving terrible vole damage. Yes, my Baptisia also got eaten by voles this winter. They chewed most of the roots and left maybe 25% of the plant. I thought it was dead. But not only did it survive, but it gave me 2 new plants from seed that had grown in the rock mulch. These plants are easily $25 at the garden center. In fact, not only are they $25 per gallon, but I couldn't even find any Baptisia Arralis this year at all. Not the native species anyway. They sold out because people are so interested in native plants that they just couldn't keep them in stock. And it's no wonder why. Look at what they look like in full bloom. So this is surprisingly going to be a money-saving award for my Baptisia Arralis, not only for surviving the voles, but giving me 2 new plants. So I still came out ahead by $25. I'm going to say voles 1, Baptisia 3. I mean, it was a tough year in the garden. Not only did we personally have voles in the garden, but in Illinois, we had a drought in the winter and spring. That means we didn't have a lot of snowpack and we didn't have a lot of rain in the spring. Some of our plants died because of the drought, but the winner for best drought survivor is going to be our butterfly weed, Asclepias tuberosa. This year, our butterfly weed looks the best it's ever been. Look at this deep orange color, and we have these healthy, chunky monarch caterpillars. This is a milkweed. seed, so of course the monarchs can lay eggs on it, and we have plenty of monarch caterpillars on this healthy Asclepias tuberosa. Look, butterfly weed is a picky girl. She likes what she likes. If she doesn't like your soil, she's not going to perform for you. I don't make the rules, but she really likes this front yard. It's hot and dry. The clay has a ton of nutrients. And now that she's established, she's going to be there for a long time, hopefully. This is really the star of the garden right now. I have a few more, and these two grew from seed. One of them grew in the crack of the driveway, like between the garden wall and the driveway, and another one grew underneath a log I left out. These are just gifts from nature, lots of free plants. And when you look underneath the butterfly weed in the front here, you can see another victim of the voles, which is the creeping phlox. This creeping phlox was decimated by voles this spring. It had a much smaller bloom this year than last year, but after a month or two, it looks like it caught up. It recovered and it leafed out really strong. So I'm going to say best comeback award goes to the creeping phlox. Sometimes we just have to be a little patient after we get some critter damage, but not all damage is done by critters. Sometimes it's something much worse. Last year, I had a terrible bindweed infestation. I put the bindweed in garbage bags and sprayed it with herbicide. I hate bindweed. Well, it's back this year and I'm gonna try again. Look, if I pull this, it's not gonna have any effect on the bindweed at all. These little jerks will just grow right back. I'm choosing careful, selective use of herbicide, glyphosate at the legal and correct concentration. I don't mess around with trying to get a more concentrated solution. More is definitely not better when it comes to chemicals. It's also not legal to use it in a different way than it says on the label. I might get some pushback for this, but I literally could not use this in a more responsible way. The plastic bag keeps it away from any animals contacting it, and I'm trained and licensed to use them correctly, so you can fight me if you want. Some plants are just really aggressive. And that's also why I have the Why Hello Award, which this year is going to my Agastache funiculum Anise hyssop, which for some reason this year is like 6 feet tall. These plants are 3 years old. They decided to grow 6 feet tall this year. I don't think it looks as tidy as it would if it were only 4 feet and growing more like in line with the other plants, but I'll take it. I want the garden to look good, but this is not a show garden. This is a gold garden. The goldfinches are already swarming this Agastache and it just started blooming. They are here every single morning and every single evening perched on the flowers. Last night I saw 5 of them. So as far as show garden goes, that's the show I'm looking for. Agastache is a beautiful plant. The leaves make a nice tea, but to have something that brings goldfinches to my garden reliably every single day, you can't buy this at the store. Well, you can. I mean, you know what I mean. Oh, I almost forgot. Let's feature the volunteer plants that have come up this year. Maybe we can do a lightning round of free native plants accidentally grown from seed. Okay, I'll think of something better than this. Now these plants are still in the ground and I haven't transplanted them because it's been 100 degrees for like 5 days. And if I move them now, they're going to be so mad. So I gotta wait. Here we've got Liatris, our native columbine, way too many Agastache. Here's some driveway Coropsis, Coropsis lanceolata, and some driveway Retibita pinnata, some flagstone walkway gray-headed coneflower, about 150 purple bee balms. This is going to be a problem. Did you know if you say spiderwort 3 times, you'll get 30 more spiderwort the next year? Spiderwort, spiderwort, spiderwort. Careful what you wish for. Look at all that spiderwort. You can help out the native plant curious because people want to see what these plants look like. Send me photos of your garden to share with the class. You can send them to infolikesplants@gmail.com. Let me know that I have permission to use it in the video. You can subscribe to my Patreon for more videos and deep dives because the truth is you can never have too many plants.